Namaste beautiful yogis, and today I am starting a series of sourdough baking videos. I just want to give you the basics from me, from how I do things, of how to get yourself started with sourdough baking. Today's video is going to be simple, just what you need, the tools you will need in order to get started. I'll tell you the absolute must-haves, and then I can list in the description below certain things that are not an absolute must to own, but they can make things sweeter and nicer. So let's get started with the things you will need in order to make sourdough. First and foremost will be a jar, a big jar, in order to get your starter started. Especially if you're starting your starter from scratch, get a big jar and you start with that. I think the second video will be on starter and how to get it started from scratch without wasting and throwing stuff away. I'll explain to you how to do that in the second video, but for now just know that you will need a big jar in order to get your starter started. Today I'm making a batch of sourdough, so it's already in here. Now you will need, especially for a novice baker, you will need a scale, a baker's scale. It is very helpful, especially when you don't know what you're doing, because you can weigh and measure out your flour and your water and be particular about quantities at first when you don't know how to do things by feel. And that probably will last forever, really. You will measure things as you go, but you will need a scale for sure. Thermometer is not a must, but you can have it, so if you are following a strict recipe, you follow that part of the recipe as well, because fermentation is very specific to temperature. So if you are following a certain person's recipe and they tell you to ferment something for 4 hours, but your temperature is not the same as the person's temperature, then your results will be completely different. And that is specifically very important for new people, because you don't know what you're looking for when you're fermenting. That comes with time, filling your dough and so forth. To me, the most important thing in a sourdough baking arsenal is bowls. I ordered those. I had a coupon, so I ordered those. They were, I think, 5 bowls with lids. Really get bowls with lids and the whole variety of sizes. I have a few in the fridge. I think 6 bowls actually. This one is fermenting, so I have each and every size depending on what dough I'm making. And the lid saves you from using saran wrap, which I don't like because it's so wasteful. It's not biodegradable. Now I had a coupon for those from a website, so I bought them, but I would prefer silicone lid that's stretchy and fits different sizes over a plastic lid, but that's what I have. I'm using it and I'm making the most out of it. So when you ferment your dough, you're going to have to use either lid or a towel. A lot of recipes call for saran wrap, but I say don't do that. And in the recipes that I'll make, I'll talk about that more. I don't like wasting and throwing the starter out and using saran wrap. It's absolutely not necessary. I think people are repeating it just because it's been said a few times, and they're just not realizing that you don't need to do that. So see, when you make your dough, you do have to protect it from dehydrating. So that is important. A silicone spoon, I have a few. This one I just used for this dough, so it has dough on it. A few silicone spoons can come in very handy because they help you from, they don't stick as much and they really can help you mix things. And also I like to mix only with a silicone spoon or my hands, because otherwise the bowls get scratched up. And other people have used my bowls and scratched it up. It's okay, it's not the end of the world, but if you want to keep your stuff nice, I think silicone spoons are nicer. They also are really good for your blender, so you don't scratch your blender. The other thing that is a must, at least for most people, is a Dutch oven. When you buy it, it arrives real pretty and nice, and then over time it will not look as pretty or as nice because you use it in a very high temperature oven, but that doesn't matter. It does an amazing job in making sourdough for a home baker that doesn't have the professional oven for sourdough baking, because it creates an environment where the bread steams itself with the lid on, and it holds heat really well. So a Dutch oven is really good, but you could have a pan with a lid, and that would work as well. Just keep in mind that certain pans that are aluminum or very thin would conduct the heat a little differently. So that is a preferable choice, but you can do any pan with a lid. Just don't use Teflon or toxic materials. Iron cast is really great. This is enamel iron. All right, for the scoring, you will need either a razor or a really sharp knife. I hide this little knife behind my cutting board there. I hide it because I don't want anybody using it, because I use it for scoring, and that's the knife that does a good job for me. So I have a really sharp, thin knife, and I do a very fast scoring of the bread. You gotta score your bread, otherwise it can crack not properly. Scoring is important in baking, and we'll get to that in different videos. And a little bottle, spray bottle with water, so that you can spray your bread before it goes in the oven. Again, we'll get to that later. I'm just reusing my B12 spray, but the glass spray would be better. This is plastic, but I dump it and I use it quickly as a watering source. You will need parchment paper for the bread. I get unbleached. This one is from Whole Foods, and those are your must-haves. Now you can have a few other things that are important. Silicone baking sheets. This is for your starter discard if you make crackers, cookies, etc. That's really helpful, and you don't have to use baking paper. You just keep reusing them. They're non-toxic, and they can go up to a very high temperature and to a very low temperature. Rolling pin, again, I have a silicone rolling pin, and that's really good for crackers, sourdough crackers. They taste like cheese crackers because of the fermentation. I think one of the videos I will do will be on the health properties of sourdough, because it's really interesting. That video will take me a lot to prepare for, so we'll see when I'll do it, because this is not my main job. I'm just very interested in sourdough baking. I love it. I think it's a really beautiful craft to get into. But after all, I'm a yoga teacher, so my effort goes into that direction. I'm doing a lot of interesting things now within postpartum series and other ongoing programs. So that is my main specialty. But sourdough is really, really healthy. The fermentation creates a perfect acidity for the phytic acid to get converted. And when the phytic acid is released, it releases a lot of the nutrients that are in the grain. So the iron, the calcium, the zinc get released and more bioavailable. But at the same time, a little bit of phytic acid is good in our diet. I know it is considered the poison in the plant, but it's also in studies it has shown that it can combat cancer cells and has no effect on normal cells. So it's very good for varieties of cancers. It can kill them in vitro, and I'm sure in humans. And you are going to need heavy-duty mitts for the oven, because you're going to be handling this thing when it's scorching hot at 500 degrees at the highest in your oven temperature. So you really want them to be nice. If you can get higher ones, get them, because I know some people actually burn themselves on the oven when they place the bread in. You have to be careful, so the mitts will protect you. You will need them. I think those are for 500 degrees or 450. I will list everything you need below, and I might do an article on my website that lists everything properly. And I will list the books, the 13 and the books that you might want to get. And let's see, those are your basics. What else would you need? I would recommend getting like this, a lot of the whole combination of containers, so that you are not limited when you make your breads and those, and you don't use saran wrap. Oh, towel. That's the last thing that I would say for this post. You will need a tea towel, because that's how you ferment your bread, and that's how I at this point don't use any saran wrap. If I have veggies or anything, I just wrap a towel over my bowls, just like that. I've been using this one for cleaning and stuff, and they're not perfect, my towels, because I even inherited some from Johnny's mom, my partner's mom, and I'll just put this like this in the fridge. So I feel that I'm doing something, I'm moving away from plastic. It's better for the environment, it's better for us as well, because plastic is fuming. And even if it's not, we have to decrease it as much as we can. So those are your must-haves. If I think of other things, just kind of things that can be fun to have but not must-haves, I will list them on my article and in the description below. I will list the books that you may enjoy reading when you're learning, and of course you will need good wheat. I will also list the wheats, rye flours, and flours that I love, so that you can get yourself started. And in the next video I'll just talk about how to get a starter ready, so that you can start baking in an easy, intuitive manner. I feel that a lot of the bakers repeat the same information over and over. Discard your starter, throw it in the trash. I don't like this type of, there is absolutely zero need to throw any food out, especially I buy expensive flour, so I can't imagine just tossing it in the trash when it's so bioavailable, so healthy, so healing, so good for you, and there is so many uses for it. So we'll talk about that later, but those are the things you will need for just to get started and to start baking. I'll see you with my next video. I'll cover how to get a starter started, how to bake a good loaf of bread, how to bake an easy loaf, maybe how to make crackers, and the health benefits, of course. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Here are the things that you will need. Mostly the oven mitts I put away. Here is my red 5 dough, just starting to ferment and beautify itself. And I'm using an heirloom mill now for older grains. They're grown here around Austin in Texas, and I'm using different grains, just experimenting with different varieties of wheat, because they all taste very different.